Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dreams to Keys Realty YouTube channel. I am Jalon Strong, the Essential Millennial Realtor, and your host of Dreams to Keys Realty here on YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any content on this channel. We would love to see our subscribers continually increase, and thank you for everyone that has subscribed. We would love to reach, let's say, 200 subscribers. So if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button and become a subscriber. It is a free option. Welcome again to everyone, whether you're new or returning. Hopefully you are a subscriber and you'll return to see other content and videos that we have on this channel. Today, we're going to cover market data for Gwinnett County for September 2025. In a previous video, we covered DeKalb County for the same time frame. And we also covered today step 11 for the bingo series of home ownership. So if you are someone interested in any of that content, you definitely want to subscribe and check that content out on this channel as a replay. You will see it moving about at the bottom of the screen, information to get to the link in the description or the link in the bio, which is beacons.ai/Jalon Strong. So that will be moving about throughout the video or the live today. Please feel free to go to that website if you're interested in any information about the company, Dreams to Keys Realty, the Essential Millennial Realtor, or any affiliate links that we have. Let's go with our link in description, highlight of the week, which we do for every video. Today, or for this video, it is the preferred lender tab. So once you go to beacons.ai/Jalon Strong, you will see a tab that says preferred lender. That is to connect you with one of our preferred lenders. The reason why we have preferred lenders is because we've developed rapport with these financial experts, these lenders who are experts in this arena for the financial piece of the transaction. And we've developed rapport, whether we've had sit-down conversations, we developed different expertise around this process that we trust each other to assist each other's clients. And so therefore we've become preferred lenders, or they've also seen me as a preferred real estate agent to refer their clients to, depending on who sees a client first and what services that are needed and that we can provide. So having a preferred lender really helps us to kind of allow for a recommendation to you, but you do not have to use our preferred lender in your transaction. It's just those that we have developed rapport with and lending to you. But if you're someone who's looking to buy a home, feel free to click that link. You can do it for free at any time, and you can get in contact with one of our preferred lenders. And it does say ask about the grant program. So not every lender has a grant program, but ask them about theirs and ask them how they can assist you and what is needed to qualify for the grant program. Another link that is the newest link that you'll find on beacons.ai/Jalon Strong is the website crownfirstlady.net. Crown First Lady is a separate business that I created after creating my own formula for what I now call First Lady Scalp Oil. And that formula, that oil, helped to soothe my scalp as I went through the alopecia journey. I'm currently in the hair growth phase. But during that time, my scalp was quite irritated, and I wanted to find something that I could apply topically each week or after wash days or when I had braids to really soothe my scalp. And I created it. And I've been using it for some time for myself. But I did find that I had those close to me that were curious about it, wanted to try it for themselves. And after that, I have created the business Crown First Lady. And so you are able now to get a sample or travel size of this scalp oil, which is called First Lady Scalp Oil, in a 1 ounce bottle. You also have the option of trying it as the full size, the 4 ounce bottle. But you can do either one of those options or both of them at crownfirstlady.net. Again, that's a separate business, but it is one that I created that helped me to soothe my scalp through my alopecia journey. And I am now on the growth journey of hair growth. So I am very encouraged by all of you who have purchased from crownfirstlady.net. I hope that many of you will consider to purchase from crownfirstlady.net and give the First Lady Scalp Oil a try. I hope to hear positive or realistic reviews from you. And I look forward to packaging your orders and making sure that you get them in a timely manner. We have seen that deliveries are arriving within 2 days, and our preferred or window of time is 3 to 5 business days. So we are seeing faster than we've even expected, and we've heard great things. So feel free to go to crownfirstlady.net, make your purchase. I'll make sure that it gets shipped to you or delivered to you in a timely manner, and we hope to hear your reviews in our review section of the website. The newest information that I'm informing everyone of is our end of the year sale. We have an automatic discount on our website, which is dtkrealty.com, where you can automatically get 70% off of all of our physical products. So our ebooks are not included in this sale. Anything physical, such as our journals, shirts, crew necks, hoodies, all those things of the My Dreams Have Keys collection are physical products, and you can automatically get 70% off at checkout of all those products. You do not need a code, it is automatic. But the catch is you need to do it before the end of the year. It is our end of the year sale. And also in the new year, we will no longer be offering those products for purchase. I may still use those for gifts, for clients, or what have you, maybe even events, but they will not be available for purchase in 2026. So you want to make sure if you're interested in any of those physical products, such as our journals. I know many of you like to journal, or you may want to write down your goals or resolutions for the new year, but you have to make those purchases before this year ends, because in 2026, they will not be available at all. So make sure that you do that as soon as possible before 2026. This sale and these products will not be available January 1st, 2026 after midnight Eastern Standard Time. Now let's get into why we're here. We're here to discuss market data for Gwinnett County. We are going to be covering a new zip code. So as we always do, I'm going to pull up the document on the screen, which is complement of the First Multiple Listing Service, or the FMLS, and FastStats. As a real estate agent, a licensed real estate salesman, I have assist from the FMLS. So that's where we're going to be referencing and reviewing for today. And I want to make sure everyone can see my screen. It looks like you can. If you have any issues with seeing the screen, hearing me, questions, comments, or concerns, please put them in the comment section. I am going to stop periodically and look at the comments. So if you have anything that is of concern or a question, please put it down below. Hopefully, if you've reviewed market data with me before, you know these key metrics, you know what they mean. I'll try to break them down as well in this video, but if you have questions, please let me know. All right, so this video, we are covering a new zip code. This is, again, from the First Multiple Listing Service, or FMLS, courtesy of FastStats. This is a zip code of 30041, which includes Norcross and Gwinnett County. The reason why we're covering Gwinnett County is because Gwinnett County, as well as DeKalb County, are the market areas that I service as a licensed real estate salesperson or real estate agent. So I want to make sure that those are the areas that I cover, because those are the areas that I'm involved in. So as always, we start from the top. We have two different property types that we will be reviewing: residential detached and residential attached. Residential detached and attached are just like their name suggests. We're going to start with residential detached, which are those properties that are not connected to one another, such as single family homes. The first key metric that we're going to look at is new listings. For September 2024, there were 19. For September 2025, it was 14, showing a decrease of 26.3%. New listings are just as the name suggests. These properties were not on the market before, they're now on the market. So looking at the 2 months, there's a 5% difference in the number of new listings, showing more in September 2024. Is that something that's probably felt in the market? No. And is that something statistically significant? I would not say so here. So let's move to the next metric, which is pending sales. For September 2024, it was 6. For September 2025, it was 1, showing a decrease of 83.3%. That I would say is statistically significant. However, these numbers are quite small. As we know, pending sales are where we have an executed contract, but we have not made it to the closing table. So the exchange of property has not happened. With these very small numbers, they're not giving us much as far as what can be felt in the market, but statistically, we do see a difference of significance. For closed sales for September 2024, it was 8, and the same for September 2025. So there's 0% change. And the closed sales are, as the name suggests, we made it to the closing table. The property was exchanged between buyer and seller. So just to pause here, looking at new listings, pending sales, and closed sales, we see that the new listings and pending sales have decreased. Pending sales would be considered statistically significant, and the closed sales are the same. So that's where we are when looking at those 3 metrics month to month. Now let's look on days on market until sale. For September 2024, it was 12, and for September 2025, it was 32, showing an increase of 166.7%. Now, days on market until sale is what we call cumulative days on market. So it's not relative to who was helping sell the property, such as which seller's agent or which broker was selling the property. It's looking at the time that property or the properties in this time frame were on the market until they were sold. So looking at September 24, it was 12, and September 2025, it was 32. 12 is a very short time frame. That might indicate that at that time, maybe we had more investors in the market. That signifies more of what we would say a seller's market potentially. Now, when we look at 32 days on market until sale, we're looking at more neutral, because about 30 days is what it takes for a traditional buyer to purchase a home. And 32 is right around that time frame. So I would say that's more of a seller's market to a neutral market, just looking at that metric. Now I'm going to pause and see if we have any comments or questions. I don't see any, so we're going to move forward. The next metric and next 3 metrics here have an asterisk, which is signifying that there are some things that we can't consider with these metrics. The things that we can't consider are things like seller concessions or down payment assistance. So keep that in mind when we look at the next 3 metrics. So next we have median sales price, which for September 2024 was $482,500. For September 2025, it was $365,000. That showed a decrease of 24.4% in the median sales price. Median means middle point. So if you line all the sales prices in order, these are the numbers that are in the middle at that time. What we're seeing is that the median sales price has decreased from last year to this year at the same time points. Now let's look at average sales price. Again, we still have that asterisk, but for September 2024, it was $548,250. For September 2025, it was $424,488, showing a decrease similar to the median sales price, but this one is 22.6%. The average means that you take all of the sales prices and divide them by the number of properties or the number of sales prices that there were for that time period. So we are seeing that we have the same trend where the median and average sales prices have decreased about at the same or similar percentages. So this is looking like about almost, not quite, but close to $100,000 difference in the sales prices for the median and average. Again, there are asterisks here, so there are some things that are missing or cannot be considered in these numbers. Percent of list price received for September 2024 was 101.2%. For September 2025 is 98%, showing a decrease of 3.2%. Theoretically, what we're looking for here is 100% or as close to that as possible. With that in mind, it's saying that the property is listed at the price that it's purchased for. If properties are listed correctly, then they should be purchased theoretically at that price. So 100% would be the theoretical percentage we should see. Here we see for September 2024, we are above that, which means that there was a purchase or purchases that exceeded the list price. And that could be for various reasons. This data does not particularly tell us that information. But again, we still have the asterisk. So there are some things that still weren't considered with this information and haven't been considered for the 3 price-related metrics here. With 98%, even though it's a drop from the previous year, it's still quite high, still quite close to 100%. So there's not a whole lot that we can take from this metric here. Inventory of homes for sale was 26 in September 2024 and 32 in September 2025. There are 6 homes in a difference here. Not much to say there. There is a statistical difference of 23.1%. I wouldn't say that that is statistically significant. However, there are more homes for sale in September 2025 than in September 2024. Month supply of inventory for September 2024 was 2.8, and for September 2025 was 3.5, showing an increase of 25%. It is more homes for sale in September 2025, and it's taking longer for those homes to sell. So what that last metric is telling us, that if no other homes were added on the market at that time, so let's say in September 2024, no other homes were on the market than the 26 that were on at that time, it would have taken 2.8, so almost 3 months for all of those 26 homes to sell based on the rate of the homes being sold at that time. Now, same thing with September 2025. For the 32 homes that were on the market at that time, based on the rate of which those homes were being sold, so looking also at those days on market until sale, it would have taken 3.5 months, so almost 3.5 months, almost 4 months for all of those homes with no additional homes added to sell. So it's taking slightly longer in 2025 than in 2024. It's not something I would say is statistically significant, but it may be something that if you're working this market or this zip code often, you might feel. Year to date through September 2024, for new listings, it was 123. Through September 2025, it was 140. So here we see our first increase for new listings, but it's year to date showing a 13.8% increase. So over time, we've seen more new listings for this zip code this year than in the previous year. For pending sales through September 2024, it was 86. Through September 2025, it was 76, showing a decrease of 11.6%. So pending sales, as we said, there's an executed contract, but no closing yet. So this gives us an indication on how the market is moving, maybe what the market's looking for. Again, this is all under residential detached. So it could give us an indication of what is being sought after when it comes to this market, is maybe also in this time frame compared to other months. And we will look at this zip code in the next few months to also assess for how the movement is when it comes to these metrics. But there's not a whole lot that we can take from the pending sales metric here, month to month or year to date. Closed sales, we see through September 2024, it was 86 again. And through September 2025, it was 85. Definitely not much movement there, a decrease of 1.2%. Not much that we can say changed. We're still closed sales wise where we were pretty much the previous year at the same time. Days on market until sale year to date. So through September 2024, it was 24 days on market until sale, and it was 29 through September 2025, showing an increase of 20.8%. We typically look for this number to either be stable around the 30 days, or if you are maybe a seller, you would look for this number to also be lower. If you're a buyer and you're looking for a buyer's market, maybe you want this number higher than 30. With that 29, I would say we're still about neutral. It could be argued, if you just want to look at the numbers as they are, that we're leaning more into a seller's. But based on the trend, looking through September 2024 through, and also through September 2025, where it looks like we're moving from a seller's market into a neutral market, month to month and year to date. Median sales price, again, we have that asterisk, but through September 2024, it was $468,500. Year to date for median sales price through September 2025, it was $491,000, showing an increase of 4.8%. We're seeing our first increase when it comes to median sales price. It's year to date as opposed to month to month. The numbers, however, if you look at the numbers, you're seeing that September 2025 month to month or month and year to date data, it looks starkly different. To me, it's a little over $100,000 difference just looking at those columns, the ones in bold for median sales price. So that says something about this market. It may say something about the times of year when it may be likely to see a lower median sales price, but we know what median sales price means. So we know that there are still numbers above and below. So I just thought that that's something that looked quite different. Sometimes we see the median sales price month to month and year to date closer in number than we do here. So that's something that stands out to me. For average sales price, through September 2024, $533,743. Through September 2025, it's $526,793, showing a decrease of 1.3%. It is still a decrease, as we did see a decrease for the month to month, but it's not as large of a decrease as month to month as we see for year to date. Another thing to note, as I said above, with the median sales price, same kind of consideration looking at the average sales price. It's a little over $100,000 difference in those bold columns for median and average sales price. So that to me says something about this zip code, and it may say something about the time of year when prices are higher in these columns. So we will look at this zip code in the next couple of months to just see maybe if we see a trend or some data to support where these higher numbers are coming from. But this data is showing us through September 2024 and 2025. So the median and average sales prices would have had to be higher in the prior months than the months that we're going to review in the future for October, November, those months. Hopefully that makes sense. Percent of list price received year to date through September 2024 was 98.9%, and the same for through September 2025. So there's a 0% change. Both of these numbers are quite close to 100%, which means the list price and the purchase price were very close. There's not much to take away from that data, but we do see that the end results are higher year to date than we saw for September 2025 for the same metric. Now I'm going to pause again and see if we have any questions before we move on to residential attached for the same key metrics, month to month and year to date. So I don't see any questions, but if you have any, feel free to leave them in the comment section. I will review them on the live. And if you put them on the replay, I will also review them at that time as well. So getting back to our data, we are now discussing residential attached. And as the name suggests, those properties are connected to one another. Such an example is a townhome. So looking at the key metric of new listings for September 2024, there were 10, and for September 2025, it was 9, showing a decrease of 10%. As we always see when we review residential attached metrics, these numbers are much smaller than we've seen with residential detached, which means that we expect the percentage changes to be more statistically significant. So watch for that as we review the data here. Here, the new listing is only different by 1, so there's not much to take there statistically. And I'm sure if you're trying to assess the feel in the market, you probably wouldn't feel anything as far as a difference for new listings. Pending sales for September 2024 was 6, for September 2025 was 2, showing a decrease of 66.7%. That is a difference of 4 pending sales. That might be something that potentially could be felt if all of these sales were going through the same attorneys or closing attorneys, but otherwise, I'm not sure that that would be noticed. Percentage-wise or statistically, it is statistically significant. Again, pending sales are those where we have an executed contract, but we have not reached the closing table. For closed sales through September or at September 2024, there were 6, and for September 2025, it was 10. So we have a statistically significant difference in the upper range or an increase of 66.7% for closing sales, with more closing sales for September 2025. So that may indicate that even though we had a slight drop in new listings compared to last year and a difference in pending sales compared to last year, we have seen a slight increase in closings compared to last year in September. Days on market until sale for September 2024 was 24, and September 2025 was 69. That's a lot. And the percentage change is an increase of 187.5%. Now, if you're a seller in this market and you really need to sell, that might hurt. That's a long time. If you have a residential attached property, if you had to wait that long. So again, days on market until sale is discussing a cumulative days on market until sale. So at most it being 69 days for that time frame, that is a lot. And as we discussed, neutrality, buyer, seller markets, and those things, this is definitely saying buyers have your way. Like buyers, you have all the time you need. Traditionally, a buyer would need, let's say, 30 days. So we're looking at double that and a little bit more for a buyer. So we've moved to arguably a seller's market again to past neutral into a buyer's market here. Median sales price has that asterisk again, and we are looking at September 2024, where it was $368,250. For September 2025, it was $293,750, showing a decrease of 20.2%. So again, we know what median means, and we know that there are prices above and below, but we do see that there's a drop here. For the first time in a while, we're seeing numbers in the $200,000 range, slightly under $300,000. So depending upon what you're looking for as a buyer, or if you're a buyer's agent looking to advise someone based on their pre-approval, this might be encouraging, especially if there's no stark need for a particular property type. This might be encouraging for a buyer to know that we have a sales price, a median sales price at that, in a particular time frame under $300,000 in this market. That might be encouraging, especially if you're looking at a buyer that feels priced out of everything they want or feels discouraged but really wants to live in a particular type of environment. Maybe this zip code is just what they need. So this type of data might be something to present to that client or customer who's just curious about what zip codes make sense. And this price point might make sense for a lot of people. Average sales price has the asterisk again. For September 2024, it was $378,583 as the average sales price. But for September 2025, it was $272,200, which shows a decrease of 28.1%. So we see the median and average sales prices, though they have the asterisks, they have decreased in this time frame and under $300,000. Percent of list price received has the asterisk as well. For September 2024, it's 96.9%. For September 2025, 99.5%, showing an increase of 2.7%. 96.9%, I believe, is the lowest that we've seen when reviewing September for this time frame. However, still quite close to 100% as opposed to, say, 50, 60%. For September 2025, we're almost there at 100%. So this is an increase. Again, the theory is that if the list price is listed correctly and it's purchased at that price, we should be at 100% in theory. However, we still have this asterisk. So there's some things we can't consider here, such as seller's concessions and down payment assistance. Even with those things being removed, we still have some slight decreases from 100%. 99.5% is right there. So we are pretty much on track for that theory to be true if we're looking for that. Inventory of homes for sale for September 2024 was 18. For September 2025 was 26, showing an increase of 44.4%. Now, that might number-wise not make a whole lot of difference for a lot of people, 8 homes, but let's look at the month supply of inventory. For September 2024, it was 3 months. For September 2025, it was 4.4 months, which showed an increase of 46.7%. So if no other homes other than the 18 that were on the market in September 2024 in this zip code were included, right? So that's the month supply inventory. It would have taken 3 months to sell those homes based on how homes were selling at that rate. So it was 24 days on market until sale with 18 homes on the market at that time. It would have taken 3 months. Now let's look at September 2025. It was 26 homes on the market and it was selling 69 days on market until sale. It would have taken 4.4 months for those 26 homes to sell based on that rate. That's what that last metric is saying. So it would have taken us longer. We had more homes though, and the days on market is quite prolonged. So with all that considered, that's not terrible with that data in mind. But if you're a seller, that is probably alarming. That's probably all the red flags to maybe wait to put your home on the market. Probably, depending on what your situation is. Year to date through September 2024, we had 89 new listings and 103 through September 2025, showing an increase of 15.7%. So more new listings year to date, but month to month, we saw a drop, just slightly by 1. Now, pending sales year to date through September 2024 was 59. Through September 2025, it was 50, showing a decrease of 15.3%. So pending sales dropped. They dropped month to month as well, but we had more new listings. Let's keep going. Closed sales year to date through September 2024 was 58. Through September 2025 was 55, another drop, but of 5.2% here. So we had more closings month to month. We're seeing year to date that there was a slight drop. Now, let's say a drop of 3 is not anything statistically significant. I wouldn't say that any of those percentage changes are statistically significant. However, keeping in mind that these residential attached property types often move in very low numbers. So that is another consideration to keep in mind. Days on market until sale year to date through September 2024 was 22 days. And then through September 2025 was 41, showing an increase of 86.4%. So year to date, we still have a longer time frame this year than last year at that time frame. However, not as long as we saw in September 2025 thus far. Again, this is our first month reviewing this zip code, but what we are seeing is that the days on market until sale are longer up into September 2025 at this point. Looking at 41 days from 22 days, it's arguably a seller's market. into more of a buyer's market. So for residential attached month to month and year to date, you could arguably say that we've moved from sellers to buyer's market, just looking at the differences between the 2 years. Now, median sales price again has the asterisk, but through September 2024, it was $301,000. Through September 2025, it was $318,000, which showed an increase of 5.6%. So we have crossed over the $300,000 mark when we look at the year-to-date data, whereas the month-to-month, we were seeing the drops below the $300,000 mark. So that is something to keep in mind. It may provide a good range if you are looking to speak to or are speaking with a potential buyer that is considering the zip code and is also looking at their pre-approval. This may be something to consider. Hey, up until this point, year to date, this is where the average and the median fall. So is this an area with everything considered about where you're looking to live and your price point that you would like to consider? Let's look at average sales price. Again, we do have that asterisk. Through September 2024, the average sales price was $310,812. Through September 2025, it was $333,136, which shows an increase of 7.2%. We're still in the $300,000 mark, but we're higher than we saw for the median sales price year to date. So again, this may give a range for you to speak with your buyer about. Not as much of a difference as we saw when we compared these bold columns for median and average sales price in the month of September 2025 and the year-to-date column for that same time frame as we saw with residential detached. When we reviewed these bold areas for residential detached, it was almost a $100,000, if not more, difference when we saw the year-to-date data. But here, it's not as stark of a difference. It is, however, in a different range. So we're above the $300,000 price point. Percent of list price received has that asterisk. Through September 2024, it was 98.1%. Through September 2025, it was 98.7%, showing an increase of 0.6%. Not statistically significant. And I would say both of these are quite close to 100%, and we're approaching closer to 100%. There's not much else that we can really take here. We can note that September 2025 showed a higher percent of list price received than we're seeing year to date. Now let's finish off this discussion with a quick review of the median sales price graphs. On the left, you'll see the one for residential detached, and on the right, you'll see the one for residential attached. Both graphs show on the gray line the all MLS, which this is reflecting the first multiple listing service, and the green lines are showing the zip code of 30071, which is including Norcross. These graphs are on a rolling 12-month calculation, so as we cover more data each month, it will knock off some older data. Now, when we look at the graph on the left, which is the median sales price for residential detached, we see it starts from January 2014 and continues through our current data that we reviewed above. But what we do see is that at several points, the two lines intersect. They connect and they cross. So there is a slight crossing there is a crossing at January 2015, where they're just under the $200,000 median sales price. We see that the zip code here takes a slight jump above, almost at the $200,000 median sales price, but then it takes a drop down before even reaching January 2016. And then we see that they connect again just before January 2017. And then the zip code here, 30071, does a bit of a bump, but stays above this all MLS line for quite some time until connecting again at January 2021. At that time, the all MLS takes a slight lead where it is approaching the $300,000 median sales price line, but does not quite reach it until they connect again after that 2021 time period, maybe midway of 2021. And then the zip code 30071 begins to incline well above the all MLS data, ending the graph just under the $500,000 mark, where the all MLS ends at or just under the $400,000 mark. When we look at the graph on the right, we see the same range of time, but we see that the zip code here, 30071, spends most of, if not all of its time under the all MLS line. So there is a connection once it gets just before January of 2021, and then the zip code here, 30071, dips down again. It starts to connect again slightly just after just at the first quarter of 2022. And again, looks like midway, it connects again after dropping prior to that. And then we see that they do not connect again. The graph ends with the all MLS just at $350,000 as the median sales price, and the zip code here of 30071 being just about at the midway point, possibly around the $325,000 mark. I would say maybe the 318. I think that's the $318,000 was the median sales price we reviewed above at the last data. So both of these graphs show some type of connection with the all MLS and the zip code. I wouldn't say that there's any point where we see there's a grand difference. There are some graphs where the lines never touch when we review previous zip codes, or even if you look at the Gwinnett County live that I did prior to this, there's a graph where they never touch, but here they do touch at certain points. So let's stop sharing. Hopefully you all, I see there's a video delay, so maybe I will go to the avatar. It's hard to detect when that delay will occur. It's no real rhyme or reason behind it, but I'm going to give you all some time to ask any questions that you might have. I thank you all for joining, whether you showed up on the live or you came on the replay. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, click that all option so that you don't miss any content on this channel. I hope that you will subscribe. We would love to see our subscribers reach, let's say 200. We're at 155. So I would love to see our subscribers increase. Feel free to share our content to those that you feel are interested in this type of content. You can also feel free to share it on your social media. We are on other social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course, as well as Blue Sky, Substack, and LinkedIn. So if you're interested in following us on any other platforms, I just did a post on Facebook today referencing the end of the year sale that we have that I discussed earlier in this live and in the other lives today. So if you want to follow us so that you keep up to date with what we're doing and the content that we're putting out, please do so. We would really appreciate it. I don't see any questions, but again, if you have any later on, please put them in the comment section. I will review those and get back to you. If you don't have any questions or comments for me moving forward, I hope you have a great evening, a great rest of your week. Thank you for joining Dreams to Keys Realty YouTube channel. I am the Essential Millennial Realtor, Jalon Strong, and Dreams to Keys Realty is where your dreams turn into keys. I hope you have a blessed one. I'll see you in the next video. Happy holidays and Happy New Year if I don't see some of you until that time. Thank you. Bye-bye.